Have you ever encountered a life situation that is somewhat mysterious? An experience raising a question that seems to have no answer? Have you ever found yourself in a life situation where you pinned your hope only on your faith in God? Last April 2022, I brought my younger brother to the Dr. Paulino J. Garcia Memorial Research and Medical Center in Cabanatuan City for medical attention. He had many health issues.
He had high blood sugar. He was anemic. His hemoglobin was low. He had urinary tract infection. His blood pressure was 90/60.
Due to the above condition, he collapsed a number of times, hitting his head on the ground. What alarmed me most was his not being able to move his body, could not eat, and had to be personally attended to in every activity he had to do. Laboratory tests were done and results of CT scan showed there was bleeding in his brain and needed to be operated. The hospital has very strict policy on visitors and persons attending to the needs of patients. Only one person is allowed for every patient, leaving my brother only to the care of his 17-year-old daughter while I stayed at the waiting area outside of the hospital compound provided for visitors. I was very much worried then and prayed almost non-stop. I remember during the time the operation was being performed on him by the neurosurgeon, I said the rosary as I walked along all 4 streets surrounding the vast PJG compound. That was past midnight when I could not sleep a wink due to anxiety. After the operation, his daughter was asked to stay at the waiting area where I was staying as my brother would be placed at the ICU for 3 days, leaving me even more anxious. I brought my novena booklet with me and made a novena to the Sacred Heart for 9 consecutive hours. I solemnly prayed that my brother's operation be successful and to bless and guide the neurosurgeon and other medical personnel attending to my brother. Staying at the waiting area thinking about a loved one placed at the ICU could drain one emotionally as well as physically. But I had to take care of myself, too. As my physical energy was waning and needed replenishment, I went out of the waiting area to have my lunch. I found a canteen on Kimson Street in the vicinity of PJG. I ordered my favorite sinigang na bangus and a ripe banana for my dessert. When I was done eating and about to pay for what I had ordered, the cashier told me that it had already been paid by the guy who had just left the canteen. Greatly astounded, I asked her who that guy was. She said she didn't know and that she thought he was my companion. Lest it later turn out to be some kind of a prank, I insisted on paying. But her 2 food servers confirmed my order had, indeed, already been paid by that guy they thought was a friend of mine. I told them I am not from Cabanatuan and have no known friend in that city. I insisted on paying, but they refused to accept my money since my order had already been paid and that would be alright with them. Trying to further convince me, the ladies rationalized that I might have had done similar good thing in the past and that I was then rewarded for my generosity by someone I didn't know. Being a religious person and likewise believing in what they reasoned out, I was convinced. So, I just asked the ladies if they knew the guy and if they had any idea where I could find him so I could at least thank him. They told me they didn't know him but that he's probably in his mid-20s and that he oftentimes takes his lunch at their canteen. They further stated that he works at a computer store beside a tailoring shop just before the highway as they pointed to that direction. As the ladies' words were still ringing in my ears, I tried to reach back. What act of kindness had I done in the past that deserves a reward such as this? I am basically a good person and have remained good despite some cruel people's distorted opinion of myself. There are countless instances that can attest to that. Upon request, I tutored many students in our neighborhood and helped many schoolmates of all year levels make their school assignments. When I was already working, I helped many find jobs and lent money to those who needed same, not even asking them to pay me back. Not only did I help them find jobs but even offered my place where they could temporarily stay while in a place far away from their homes. After the very successful operation, thank God. And thanks to Dr. Charlene Mercado, the neurosurgeon, we love you, Doc. And having been confined in the hospital for nearly a month, my brother finally got out of the hospital. But scheduled to come back the following month for the follow-up checkup and removal of staples on his scalp. We had 0 billing.
Many thanks to former Congresswoman Josie Manuel Hoson, who fortunately called me on my phone the moment we stepped on the hospital ground, not knowing we were there. That helped ease the burden of my stress-laden heart. Ma'am Josie is a good friend of mine and a former classmate, our valedictorian in grade school, and whose staff helped facilitate in the processing of my brother's full health.
Many commented that had the operation been done at a private hospital, it would have cost us million pesos. What's more, the thought of having someone I can turn to on a trying moment like this helped diminish my anxiety. As scheduled, on May 31, 2022, we went back to the PJG for my brother's follow-up checkup. There were many patients on the hallway waiting for their respective doctors. As we waited for the neurosurgeon, and as if to provide the necessary segue to the mystery I was trying to solve, I happened to sit beside a young guy who likewise was there for the same purpose as mine.
To beat boredom, I talked with him. I asked him who the patient he was with. He said it was his aunt whom he accompanied for medical checkup. He said they are from Cabanatuan. He asked me from where we are, to which I replied from Japan.
When he mentioned that he works at a computer store beside a tailoring shop on Kimson Street, I asked him if he's familiar with the canteen on Kimson Street near the hospital. He said yes, and that he oftentimes takes his lunch there. I took that opportunity to narrate to him my story and asked him if he has a coworker who is in his mid-20s and who mistakenly paid for my meal. He said he's 20 years old but wasn't the one I was referring to, but he confirmed his co-employees usually take their lunch in the said canteen. He further said that there was only one employee in their store who matches the age of the mystery guy and that he must be 23 years old. I requested him to ask that guy if he was the one who paid for my lunch so I could thank him, and I left my number to him. A couple of days later, in a phone conversation with him, he told me that he asked his co-employee if he was the one I was talking about, but that his co-employee said he could no longer remember the incident. Darniel Piad. That was what the young guy said was the name of the only person working in their computer store matching the age of the person who paid for my meal. The last name sounded familiar. Suddenly, an incident of long ago went to a replay in my head. During my teens, as I was taking a bath in the river, I rescued a young lady from drowning. That act of heroism saved someone's life. The lady's name was Nilda Piad, and I was able to document that incident. Please click this link on the description box, An Untold Story of Heroism. Darniel Piad. He has the same surname as Nilda's, and all the letters of Nilda's first name could be found in the former's first name. It may seem illogical and absurd, but I tried to connect that incident of long ago to what the ladies in the canteen told me, that I might have had done some acts of goodness in the past and now rewarded for that. Paying for the less than 100 peso meal I ordered may be but a trifling thing, but the experience was so full of meaning to me, for not only did it replenish my waning physical energy then, but, most importantly, it nourished my spirit. But so as to spare myself from having some kind of intrusive thoughts and thinking too much about an incident that raised questions providing no answer, I meditated on the words our theology teacher had taught and imparted with us.
She said, "There are times that we have to see things with the eyes of faith." Or words to that effect. And that we have to reflect and ask ourselves what it is that the Lord wants to convey to us, what He is telling us by way of incidents coming our way.
Yes, for things that offer no explanation, we just have to see them with the eyes of faith. God works in mysterious ways. There are biblical passages that will complement what our teacher had taught us.
Matthew 25 from verse 35 to 36 states, "I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me into your house. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you went to see me." In Matthew chapter 25 verse 40, the Lord also said, "Truly, I say to you, whenever you did this to one of the least to my brothers, you did this to me." We do not see God, but we feel Him. We feel Him in life situations and occurrences that inspire us to do good. We see Him in life situations and circumstances that further strengthen our faith. We see Him through the eyes of faith.